Now I know I said in November there'd be no pickups in December, and then there was pickups in December, and now we're not all the way out of December and there's more pickups. So you want to see some Christmas pickups? You just wait until after these. Now, as with all my previous pickup videos, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the most current generation of video game pickups and work my way back through time to the earlier stuff. And the most recent thing, well, it's a Christmas gift, and now there's going to be a couple of people who will have a split opinion on this. We will have Mark, Geordie Slasher Gamer on one side, who will be going, yeah, and we'll be having, well, Bill at the Betty Horde Clinic will be going, why? But into the collection comes the Switch at last, and yes, I picked up the OLED version because if you're going to be picking up a Switch just now, you might as well go for the better screen. Kinda doesn't make too much sense for me because I will be playing it mostly docked because my nearly 50-year-old eyes, well, they need a big 55 plus television to play games on at the moment. But I do have now a Switch into the collection, and as I said, there's going to be a few of you out there saying about time and a few of you out there saying why bother, but it's here now. And of course I couldn't just, pick up the Switch, which I didn't pick up. It was obviously a Christmas gift from my partner and myself to me, so we had to get some games to go with it. And the first one we have Let's Go Pikachu Pokemon game. Now, yeah, I'm not sure this is probably the best Pokemon game to pick up. It just seemed like the most fun. And also there's that little Pokeball accessory that you get to throw at the screen, well, hopefully with the wrist tag on, because I don't want to put a Pokeball through the screen obviously. But we picked up this just to have our first delve into the Pokemon universe on the Switch, and it links up with Pokemon Go, and yes, I still play Pokemon Go. So we're staying with the Switch for the next pickup, and it's a franchise that I love and you probably love too, or at least a lot of you are going to love, and that of course is Star Wars. And this particular Switch cart has two games on it, two for the price of one. That's Star Wars Episode 1 Racer and Republic Commando. Now, I haven't played Republic Commando, so that's going to be a new fresh experience for me. But Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, I played it on the arcade cab and absolutely loved it. And I've also played it on the PlayStation 2 and it was an okay experience. I'm hoping the hardware in the Switch will just notch it up a level, or apparently I'm going to have to buy an N64 and get that version because some people think that's the definitive one. But there you have it, that's Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer and Republic Commando for the Switch. Now the last pickup for the Switch anyway is the game that made me want a Switch, even right back in the beginning, and I would imagine a lot of you will have guessed this by now anyway. If you watch the channel, you know the type of games that I love to play. Well, it was none other than Breath of the Wild. This game, I can't wait to stick my teeth into this game because it's got absolutely everything I love in modern gaming: a large expansive open world, and of course plenty of side quests and hidden things to go and find and discover. Exploration, plus it's going to be like my second Zelda game that I've ever played, so I'm looking forward, absolutely looking forward to getting this on and playing the game that made me finally go down the road of a Switch. So coming after the Switch OLED, we're moving into some more home territory stuff for Generation Pixel, of course, and that is Sony and of course the PlayStation 4. Now, the first game that I picked up for my own Christmas was My Time in Porsche. It's a simple life simulator, much like Stardew Valley and the like, and the reason that I've picked this up is one, I've had it digitally for a while, and it's time to get it back physical because let's face it, we all believe in physical over digital, especially in this channel. And not only that, it's a comfort game. It's the type of game where you can just sink into. You don't have to think too heavily about story. You don't have super high-paced action and combat, so it's a game you can enjoy without putting too much effort into it. And also, it's put out there from Team 17, and just a quick segue here. Team 17, if anyone who knows Team 17 employees, or if you're happen to watching this yourself, why on earth is Super Frog not on the Amiga Mini. Get that fixed. So that's My Time in Porsche, a wonderful little life simulator game, a comfort game if you want, just to relax after some of the more harrowing experiences you have in the likes of Dark Souls. Now next up is another PlayStation 4 game. It's another game that's gone from digital to physical, and it's a game that I absolutely adore, probably not as much as the first one, but that is Ninokuni 2, The Revenant Kingdom. Now, anyone who hasn't played or heard of this game, it's an RPG with some light action-based combat, and as a sort of addition to the first game, some light city building in this one as well. Now, as I said, it wasn't quite up there with the first Ninokuni, The Wrath of the White Witch, not for me anyway, but it's still well worth the play, and I can heartily recommend both, of course, Ninokuni games to anyone out there who likes a bit of RPG in their life, or especially JRPG. Now, my last pick up for the PlayStation 4 is yet another digital to physical game, and that is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the third in the Tomb Raider reboot series, and you know what, it's just the same as the other ones. It's not me knocking the games, they're absolutely fantastic, it's just it didn't deviate too much from the formula that they started the reboot with, and sometimes that's a very good thing to do indeed. And for me, I thoroughly enjoyed the trilogy and just finished this one this year, so this will be in an upcoming video just before New Year's Day. So for the next pickup, we're going back down the timeline and we're going to the Nintendo Wii, because yes, I have picked up a Wii game for the first time in probably quite a while, because I have been fairly focused when it's come to collecting for the PlayStation 2. But as I said, we have a Wii game and we have The Conduit. It's a game I've never played, so it fits nicely into part of the remit. It's probably not a bad game, but who knows, because here on the back it does say that IGN say this is the best shooter on the Wii, and we all know you can't spell ignorance without IGN, so who knows. But The Conduit, I'll give it a go at some point and just see how true to their word IGN are. So moving down the timeline again for the next one and into a completely different system, and it's a system that I've only started collecting for recently, thanks to Jim Corbana and, well, probably myself wanting some other interesting games from that particular system. But you'll know what I mean when I pull it up, because it's a game for the Xbox and it's The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Now, I'll be frankly honest with this one, this is going to be a placeholder. The only Xbox games that I will collect will be exclusive to Xbox, because as we all know, I am a total Sony pony when it comes to at least my collecting habits. Although there has been a shift in the force, as many of you noticed during the last pickups video. So we have The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. It's a Classics edition, but it's a placeholder for when I get my hands on a copy of the PlayStation 2 version for a price that I'm happy with out in the wild. Now next up for the generation, we're moving slightly back in time, but staying with the same generation, and that of course is the Gamecube. And I have picked up Star Wars Rebel Strike Rogue Squadron 3 for the Gamecube. Now I do have this game, but the copy I have is, well, it's not quite up to scratch, and that's what we're all looking for as collectors. We don't just want the games, if we collect the games, we want them in as good a condition as we can get our hands on them, and that's the reason I've picked up this particular copy of Rebel Strike for the Gamecube. So for the next pickups, we are on to the PlayStation 2, where, well, obviously my heart has a large place for, but the games that I'm about to show are quite important to me, because 1, they're PlayStation 2, I've never played them, and 3, I expect them to be exceptionally fine games, and games from a series that I should have played a long time ago, that technically I started playing a long time ago, but just didn't get round to it. So let's see where we're going with this, and the first is Shadow Hearts on the PlayStation 2. Yes, it's a JRPG, and it came from, of course, the Kudelka game. So that is the second game technically in the Kudelka universe. So we have Shadow Hearts, the first game. Not only that, now these were all Christmas gifts from the better half, so she done exceptionally well this year. We have Shadow Hearts Covenant, and of course that is the second game in the Shadow Hearts series, which obviously came, as I said, from the Kudelka game. And thirdly, the better half pulled the hat trick and Shadow Hearts from the New World. Now I believe this is the weakest of the 3 games, but I don't care. They're JRPGs, they're PlayStation 2, they're all part of the same series. I am gonna have such a blast getting round to playing these games, and of course it'll give me an opportunity, or at least an excuse, to play Kudelka again before I dive into these, so I can see me sitting down at some point during the year, going through Kudelka and then making my way through the 3 Shadow Hearts games. And that completes, of course, the Shadow Hearts games on the PlayStation. So it's nice to have a whole set of something firmly tucked away. So thanks again to the better half, who absolutely hit it out of the park. And of course, the games were all in lovely condition and all complete as well. So well done, better half. We're looking forward to a better half box soon, no doubt, but that's probably going to be a little bit more on the scary side than it is on the absolutely awesome side. So next up we're going to be, well, out of the timeline, we're going to be coming back to the future, if that makes any sense to you, because it's a piece of hardware, it's a new console coming into the collection, and it's all because of Jim Corbana, who, wonderful guy, but he did send me an Xbox 360 Elite. Well, just a tad before I was ready to jump in properly to the Xbox collecting, but he started that ball rolling, and as you saw in the last pickups video, I picked up an Xbox 360 Slim, because once I start collecting, and you know where this is going, so I've picked up for the collection an Xbox One S. Now I picked up the One S because one, I think it's the best looking Xbox console on an aesthetic side of things anyway. Everything else just looks black and chunky and brick-like to me when it comes to Xbox, and I know a lot of people think the PlayStation 5 is an odd looking machine. I think it's a thing of beauty, and I think if you look at the progression of the PlayStation consoles, have all been fairly unique and interesting looking. Whereas this is probably the nicest Xbox, and certainly the nicest Xbox One anyway. So we have an Xbox One S into the collection, and I'm not going to be collecting heavily on the game side for it, but it will be a Game Pass machine, because I'm going to dig into the Game Pass library and just see if I'm missing anything from that. So there we go, that's an Xbox One S coming into the collection. Okay, so after that small detour into the future, or back to the future, we're coming back to the past and following the timeline that I set at the beginning. Anyway, before I start confusing myself, the next pickup, or the last pickups, are from another system, and this is basically my own fault. You see, I watched a video maybe last week. It was a wonderful video, and it was put out by a Co-ople of Nerds, and they'll pop up here because I like to do that. And I may have left a comment on their video that I don't own a Mario game. Now of course you can imagine that caused somewhat of a stink. Not a terrible stink, but enough that people like, well, Josh from Drinking Games with Josh, yeah, he decided to put his, as we in Scotland would say, tuppence worth in. They would say, I don't know, 10 cents or whatever over in the States. But definitely stateside, it caused a bit of a stir that I don't have a single Mario game, so that forced me to then go and get a new system. And the new system that I'm bringing into the collection for the very first time I've owned one, it's the Super Nintendo, or the SNES, and that's what I'll refer to as a Super Nintendo. And as you can see over here in Europe, we had the lovely looking sleek model that also had in Japan, the Super Famicom, and not that horrible bricky looking thing that you guys over there in NTSC land unfortunately got in the States and North America. So there we go, we do have a Super Nintendo in the collection now, and I'm happy to have that, and it's about time it was in the collection. So of course, having that console, I can now go out and justify buying Mario games. So I picked up my very first Mario game, the first Mario game that I've ever bought for myself, or probably at all, come to think about it, and it's Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo, the SNES. And I don't know if it's any good or not. I don't know whether I should have started with this one or not, but I just had to get a Mario game into the collection, and this just happened to be sitting beside that console when I picked up the console. I will be obviously getting Super Mario All-Stars because I think that'll take me back and I'll get to experience the classics. But other than that, I do have a Mario game now. So Fresh and Mary at a Co-ople of Nerds and Josh at Drinking Games with Josh, you can rest easily now. I have a Mario game in the collection and I will be playing this, well, as soon as physically possible. Well, as soon as I get through all the large scale JRPGs that I've got sitting waiting for me to play. So there you go, my friends, that's my Christmas pickups from 2021, and you know what, I think I've done rather well this year, ranging from the OLED Switch, which is the newest console, maybe not the newest gen console, but the newest console in the collection, all the way down to the Super Nintendo games that I haven't really played, and I'm looking forward to diving into that library and experiencing them all for the first time. And of course there was plenty of outstanding stars in that pile as well. I think for me, obviously the star of the show was the 3 PlayStation 2 games that came from the better half, from the, what I like to call the Kudelka series, but people tend to call the Shadow Heart series, and that was of course the 3 Shadow Heart games. So of course, if you've enjoyed this video, why don't you throw me a thumbs up, because 1, it's good for the channel, and 2, it make me feel all Christmassy all over again. Thank you very much for watching as always, and until next time of course, cheerio!